Hi, my name's Juliet, and today I'm talking about how to edit ebook section layouts in Scrivener 3 for Windows for complete beginners. Sometimes the section layouts aren't quite enough to display what you need in your ebook, and Scrivener 3 allows you to change them. However, when it comes to ebooks, even though the editing screen is largely the same, and you can make all the editing changes there are quite a lot of restrictions with ebooks, and some of those changes simply won't be translated when you compile. This is because those changes either aren't allowed or they would affect or restrict the customization that e-readers give to ebooks. But you can change a few things. In Compile, double-click onto the layout you want to change in the central Section Layouts panel. Click to duplicate the format, and a new screen opens up. On the right-hand side, you will see a list of section layouts, with the section layout you clicked on highlighted in bold. But you will also notice that you can see all the section layouts. If you scroll up and down the list, you'll see that some others are bold too. These are the ones you currently have applied to your manuscript in the section layouts screen. At the bottom of that box, you'll also see it tells you which section types this section layout is assigned to. The reason you can see all the section layouts is because although you are currently only changing one layout, you need to create a custom format first, where you'll be able to change any section layout you want, and this will appear in the left-hand Formats column once you click Save. In effect, you will have your own ebook format. You need to name your format, which you do in the box at the top of the screen. The default comes up with Copy, but you'll probably want something more meaningful. In Save To, you also have the option to make this format available only in this project or in My Formats, which will allow you to use it in all your Scrivener projects. This would be useful if you were creating a series and wanted them all formatted in the same way, or if you simply use a standard format for all your books. I've selected a chapter section layout to change here, and chapter headings are where you're more likely to want to alter the format. In the editing box at the bottom of the screen, you can see the title. There are a lot of editing options in this box. But remember what I said about restrictions. You can't use all of these for ebooks. For example, you cannot change the font. Now, if you click on the title to highlight it, you'll see that you can easily add or remove italics and bold. You can also change the font size, although there is a maximum of 16 point in an ebook. But you might want to make a title smaller to differentiate it. You can change alignment, but in my experience this doesn't always work, so I wouldn't recommend it. Text colour can be changed, but isn't advisable, as the colour may not work well with e-reader customization formats. In the tabs at the top of the editing box, click on Title Options. Here you can change a couple of things too. You'll notice there's an option to change title case. Below, you can add text to the title or change it. So if you're adapting a title that is an auto-numbering one, rather than a section title, you can actually change the standard text. For example, if you didn't want chapter for this particular section layout, you could change it to book. This might be useful for an omnibus edition. Just don't remove any of the coding in the box. Prefix and suffix allow you to put characters before and after your title, possibly for decorative purposes. And that's pretty much it for changing ebook titles. Once you're done, click Save, and you'll see your changes implemented in the section layout display. Although a quick note on that, just like you can change things in the editing screen and they won't be applied in an ebook, things you can see in the section layout screen might also not be applied. I would recommend saving between changing different section layouts. This seems to work better. Now let's try changing a few things in a text layout. Text layouts are even more restrictive, because options like bold and italic are not something you'd want for a whole section, because they're difficult to read in large portions. I've chosen a layout with a title included here. Obviously, with the title, you can change all the things we changed before. Now, what can you change in the text? Well, you can change how many words are capitalized by clicking on New Pages and selecting the required number, or remove that option completely if you prefer. As for the text itself, if you want to change the format, you need to choose Text and Notes Custom Formatting from the pull-down menu first. You'll notice that all the main text loses its formatting completely. If this isn't exactly what you want, to retain the indented paragraphs, click on the paintbrush and choose Preserve Indents. However, in an e-book you probably are looking to remove those. You might be using this for some kind of special display for certain text documents, say for a poetry book. If you simply want block paragraphs with spaces in between, highlight the text and go to the line spacing option and add 12 points of space after. If you don't need the space, simply leave as is. Likewise, if you want centered text, just highlight and choose that option. Right-aligned and left-aligned are possible, but may not give the results you want in an e-book, especially for someone reading on a small screen. Then all that's left to do is click Save. Once you've finished changing your section layouts, compile your document and see how it looks, because that's the only real test. But what if you need a new section layout because you don't have enough options? This could easily happen if you are creating an omnibus edition, or if you are writing a more complex non-fiction document and need more title styles. You might also need to do this if you needed some scenes displayed in a certain way, but also needed to keep the standard formats. Double-click on a section layout to go into the editing screen again. You'll notice a plus symbol above the list of layouts. Click it and it'll give you a new layout, which you can rename. You'll notice it takes the format of the layout you used to enter the section layout editing screen, the one that was highlighted, so make sure you have the right section layout type highlighted before you click plus. Obviously, you can delete any mistakes with the minus icon. Then, edit your new style as previously and save, and don't forget to apply it to the section types as required. If you are creating more layouts, I'd recommend creating corresponding section types with the same names, otherwise things can get very confusing. Now let's look at some of these things compiled. My advice overall would be to keep it simple. Don't try to change too much, because in ebooks the changes won't have as much impact as they would on a paper book. Only do enough to differentiate would be my advice. And take your time over customizing your formats, because you may only have to do it once if you format everything in the same way, and you want to get it right. Thanks for watching, and if you've subscribed, I'll see you again next time.